India has downgraded immunity for U.S. diplomats serving in the country, meaning they have no protection if committing serious offenses. Immunity for their relatives has been revoked altogether, bringing the rules in line with those applying to Indian officials in the U.S. These are the latest measures imposed by Delhi in response to the arrest of its Deputy Consul General in New York for alleged visa fraud for her staff. So for more insight on this, we're now joined by Dr. Sreeram Chaulia, Dean of the Jindal School of International Affairs. Thank you for being with us. India, it seems, and the U.S. are in the middle of a diplomatic spat. Clearly, New Delhi being very specific on what retaliation it was going to take, arresting same-sex partners of foreign mission employees, stripping U.S. diplomats of immunity, of privileges. Where will it end? Are we just going to see this go back and forth?
I hope not, but diplomacy operates on the principle of reciprocity. And I'm afraid the Americans have not shown the basic courtesies to our diplomat in New York. And we have every right to retaliate with appropriate measures of our own. This has not been savory at all. It's been rather nasty, and we would have never wanted this in the first place. But the U.S. State Department has always applied double standards. Think about the Raymond Davis case involving a US CIA contractor undercover as a diplomat in Pakistan who killed 2 citizens. President Obama came out at the time, put a lot of pressure on Pakistan to save their so-called diplomat, who was actually a spy and a killer to boot, and said, you know, there's a broader principle at stake. This is diplomatic immunity. We use the same logic on this case. It was a far smaller offense. It was a much less grave crime, if at all you can call it. It was a domestic dispute between her and our diplomat and her domestic helper. But they escalated it to a point where, you know, she was stripped, searched, and humiliated. So we have every right, and US diplomats often get away with a lot in many foreign postings. And we have been extending these courtesies because in diplomacy we need to do it in order for the relations to go ahead. But unfortunately, the Americans seem to have thought that, you know, India is a banana republic and can't take up and doesn't have the spine to hit back. So we have taken measures, but we hope that the Americans will see sense. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has expressed regrets, and that is actually insufficient because we have been demanding a firmer apology. But nonetheless, I think they will see sense because reciprocity means if you do bad, you will also get bad. If you give respect, you get respect.
You mentioned what John Kerry's statement and also the diplomat's lawyer says that investigators made certain mistakes when looking into the actual claim of visa fraud. Why won't the U.S. back down and review the case, especially if we're hearing such words as regret from such high-ranking officials?
They should. I mean, the argument that, you know, they have their own independent legal process does not apply here simply because the issue of bilateral relations takes precedence over the nitty-gritty of legalia. And in this case, it could very well be true that our diplomat made a mistake or otherwise. But that is for, you know, the technical issues. We are more incensed about the lack of sensitivity on the part of the US government and the State Department, which initiated the complaint in the first place and led to, you know, all this unsavory business.
Just briefly before we have to let you go, this is the first strong action by New Delhi against the U.S. in years, really. What could it mean for the bilateral relationship between the two, as you see it?
It is a relatively robust bilateral relationship with both economic and security aspects. But I would say that indignities committed against a representative of state. Remember, this lady was not a private Indian citizen who just committed some small infraction. She was a representative of the state. A diplomat is a symbol of the bilateral relationship. And I don't think she should have been dealt with the manner she was, no matter what her fault was. And I think Indians are sending a clear message that we want to deal with the United States as equals, not as superordinate and subordinate. And the world has changed, and the United States needs to adjust its lenses. It cannot have double standards, one for its diplomats and the others for diplomats from what they possibly still consider as third world countries. So we want respect, and that, I think, has been the overall message of our strong measures and reactions in India.
Dr. Sreeram Chaulia, Dean of Jindal School of International Affairs, thank you so much for your analysis.